Hello future doctors, my name is Michael, I'm a first year Thessaloniki medical student, and as part of this video, I'm teaching you what not to say in your medical school interview. There should be standard operating procedures, and you can sort of split this into two categories, so there should be things that you do and things that you do not do. And this video is dedicated to things not to do on your interview. This will all make sense in a second. I'm going to start by giving an example. We got a similar concept at Apple. Right? So, Steve Jobs came up with this brilliant idea. He was like, let me train my salesmen on things not to say. And Apple is great. It's amazing. So obviously it works. I'll just give you some examples and then we move on to the content of the video. All right. So the salesmen are not allowed to say unfortunately. Instead, they must replace that word with as it turns out. Right? They're not allowed to say a crash or a bug. Instead, they must call it an issue.
Remember, gentlemen, we don't say crash or bug. The word issue is neutral. It keeps the customer calm.
They're not supposed to call a product hot. They must call it warm. They can never, ever say no. It's never, no, I cannot help you. Instead, they must answer with a positive. Yes, I can help you replace your screen. It's going to cost $199. So this same idea can be carried over to a medical school interview. There, you can jot this down on a piece of paper, just words not to say and what to replace them with. And this will help you later on in your life as well. I think if you were to take these principles, they would be really powerful. Starting off with a broad category of cliches not to give. So it's okay to say a cliche, because at the end of the day, you're probably not that different from other people. But because the interviewer has heard so many cliches, it's important to not just leave your cliche as is. It's important to back it up with claims. So I call this a naked claim. A naked claim is when you say, I am passionate about helping people, or I love medicine. It's something like that. It's naked. It's just a claim as is. These are things that you need to back up with evidence or the story. So instead of I am passionate about medicine, you need to be specific about it. I am passionate about this specific aspect. I'm as passionate about lifelong learning. A la Apple, I've also got some words that you should not say. So these are words that you should replace with other words. So unfortunately, don't say, unfortunately, X happened. Instead, I would state it as a statement. I would say, X happened, this is what I learned from it. Or X happened, this is what I would take away, or this is what I'm going to do next time. Because the one paints you as a victim. The other one paints you as an actor in your own story. The other one is, I don't know. I do not want to ever hear the phrase, I don't know, in your interview. Instead, just walk them through logically. If they ask you a question that sort of you're flustered, you're caught on the spot, you don't know the answer to it, don't say, I don't know. Just start logically, build on some logical premises. And either you'll get an answer, or if not, at least you'll show that sort of you're capable of logic. So let me give you an example of this in practice. This is a broad frame of questions that often catch students surprised. It's what I spoke about in my previous video, 7 questions in 7 minutes. But sort of the framing of the question is, if you could be an X, what would you be? So if you could be an animal, what would you be? If you were a fruit, what would you be? If you were a vegetable, what would you be? I've seen medical instruments, I've seen Harry Potter characters. These are all questions that are meant to catch you surprised. You're not supposed to be surprised. You're not supposed to say, I don't know. Remember the guiding principle? We walk them through logically. So here's an example. You're the interviewer and you ask me, Michael, if you were a fruit, what would you be? Now, in my previous 7 questions in 7 minute video, which I'll attach, I gave the example of a grape. I'm going to walk you through something else today. I'm going to walk you through the example of a coconut. So, Michael, if you were a fruit, which one would you be? Well, dear interviewer, if I was a fruit, I think I would be a coconut. So the entire logic of a coconut, right, is that it falls from its tree, but coconuts are nutritionally very expensive. It's like they consume a lot of the nutrients from the soil. So it doesn't help it falls from the mother tree and it competes with the mother for soil, right? Instead, the coconut has got to get as far away as humanly possible from its parent tree so as not to compete with them. And so the strategy that it uses is that it'll drop into a river or a sea or a body of water, or it'll roll until it finds one of those. And then it'll float, because remember, it's got a husk. It'll float until it finds land, and that land will be far away from the parents. And then at that land, it will grow. And so just like this, I've taken my coconut lineage, right, and I've expanded it. I've sent my kid to float on water and go to another island where he doesn't compete with me for nutrients, and I've just expanded my lineage, right? I'm like Genghis Khan. And just as fellow coconuts are strategic with each other so as not to compete for resources, I too think I'm a strategic person. I like to think in advance. I like to think about what could be the negative impacts of this decision. What could happen after I take this action? While this question might have flustered me in the beginning, instead of saying the no-go word, instead of saying I do not know, I walked the interview through with logic and a story. A story is always good. It builds human connection, which is quite important to stand out. But I walked the interviewer through, and that is how I answered the question. And so, future doctor, if you got any value from this video, then follow along the journey where I walk you through medical interview questions and strategies and tactical tips and incompressible facts that you can apply that will help you in your application journey.